Hi guys, welcome back to the SportsKhabri podcast. This is going to be a fun session. Not very fun for Abhimanyu and I because we're Arsenal fans. We've got Arunava with us, we've got Akio with us, the Manchester City boys, and then we've got Anshuman also, who is a Manchester United fan and probably provide us with a more neutral perspective of the entire situation. But we're going to talk about the title race. Everybody's been talking about it. We'll discuss a lot of things Arsenal, whether it's been a good season, Arsenal's injury crisis with a few players, things like that. And yeah, let's just have some fun, guys, and feel free to, you know, share your thoughts, opinions on anything that you want to. I'm going to go to Abhimanyu first because I sympathize with you and I feel you. I started supporting Arsenal when in the 2010s, 2012 onwards, 2013 onwards. And this is the first time I've seen Arsenal really fight for a big trophy, be it the Champions League or the Premier League. So it was a heartbreaking game in many ways for me to see Arsenal lose to Man City, and the manner of the loss really hurt me. Um, Abhimanyu, like, tell us since when you've been supporting the club, how big an event was that for you as well?
So my first Arsenal game was the 2005 FA Cup final, where we beat Manchester United in a very heated match. There were a few red cards flying around, and it was a great game to start off with. But yeah, this was definitely like until now. I think 2007-8 was the season where I felt we played the best football in my time of viewing, in my time of supporting Arsenal. So yeah, of course, I was like really hopeful. Like I think till December, till January, I was not thinking about the title at all. I was like, all right, long way to go. And then after the City defeat at Emirates when we won the 7 games in a row, that did get my hopes up. So yeah, the last few games have been they've hurt. They've definitely hurt quite a
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. Akio, was there any doubt at all when Arsenal were coming to the Etihad in your mind as to whether City would get the job done?
So usually I'm pretty skeptical of these things. Being a City fan, especially in the Champions League, you got to expect the unexpected. But to be quite frank, I was pretty confident because I think we have proven in the past that when it comes down to title crunch games at the Etihad, we've just delivered right from 2011-12 versus United, which was a all-you-can-win game. We delivered there. Liverpool in 2018-19, that was a huge game, 2 games performing at a very elite level. And yeah, I mean, the crowd came out. We came back from, it was 1-1, and then we made it 2-1. And it's not just in the Premier League, but the Champions League as well. We've had a pretty good run against pretty much everybody. Bayern has come to the Etihad, Real Madrid have come to the Etihad, and we most of the time just get away with the win. So I think when it comes to crunch games at the Etihad, the crowd decides to turn up, the players decide to turn up, and it's probably just some mentality that Pep has instilled into the team. But I think pretty much we knew Arsenal would give us a fight, but I don't think any real City fan would expect the team to lose there because I think everyone was just waiting for that win. And at the most, people would expect a draw, but I don't think any one of us expected to lose.
Yeah. Anshul, I'm coming to you because Akio mentioned that he expected fight from that Arsenal side, but there did not seem to be too much of fight. Fight probably, but in terms of playing the football that Arsenal played throughout the season, that just wasn't there. Do you pin it down to a particular reason, or was it just City were so much better on the day?
Um, there's one thing that Aki has pointed out: the fact that City has a sense of inevitability about them when it comes to just coming back into the league, and he is absolutely spot on because this is something that transcends Guardiola's time at the club. This is something that happened in the Mancini in the 11-12 season, something that happened in 13-14 season when City were quite far off in Liverpool, and then that slip happened, and then Liverpool City came right back and won all the matches that they needed to win. Then even in the 18-19 season, it's not just the fact that they went toe to toe with Liverpool at the very last till the very last moment. People forget this because this is something that happened quite exactly in the 21-22 season as well. That in both of those games, Liverpool and City go into the last game of the season needing to win their matches, and if the other team drops the points, the title goes to the other team. And City, in both of those matches, City go behind. And even in the 18-19 season game they had against Brighton, I remember Glenn Murray scoring the first goal, and I'm thinking, okay, here we go, could this happen? And just it was a Riyad Mahrez masterclass in that game, and City came through. That has been the thing with City in the Premier League over the past 15 years, that they always come back. So with City and Arsenal, when we talk about could Arsenal sustain this, could Arsenal continue being at the top of the table, what we can do is look at the precedent, what we have had in front of us over the past few years, and what we have over the past few years is that Arsenal are in uncharted waters, whereas City keep doing this season after season. And even in seasons where they're not performing very well, they tend to have a kind of points tally which dwarfs everyone else's. So look at the 1920 season that City won, that Liverpool won the league. Liverpool won the league at 99. City still made 81 points. And let's look at the 2021 season, in which the second place team was United at 74, and the second place team was Man City at 86. That, by Manchester City standards, is a slightly subpar season. And if when I look at City's run until the end of the season, I think they still have a couple of drops in them. So even this season, in which they look like they're set to win the league, they can end up having a season in which their point tally remains in the 80s. So even by their own standards, they have slipped up. Remember, this is a season in which we have had discussions about whether Erling Haaland has made City worse. Regardless of the what kind of the discussion that is, this season has been challenging for City as well. But they have now reached a point where it's in their hands. And what we know, that when it is in their hands, they always may take care of it. Now, with Arsenal, I know we will discuss this in further detail as well. That with Arsenal, this was always going to be an incredibly hard thing. There are circumstances that have not gone their way, and maybe if a couple of injuries hadn't happened, maybe they would have been able to sustain a few more points. Maybe they would have made these things quite easy. But the reality is that the match that we have just witnessed over the last week, this is something that we have been anticipating for quite a while. This final showdown that will effectively decide the title race. And as much as Arsenal tried to go at City, it's not that Arsenal were completely pinned back. It's not that they parked the bus or tried to, beat City on the counter. They tried to play their game as well. But it's one of those things, just when Kevin De Bruyne takes that ball off Haaland, and when he makes that run, when he carries the ball like that and slaps it one end from like 30 yards, you just know that there isn't much one can do in situations like these, And Arsenal tried their best. They tried their way to play through it. It's not that City are without the weaknesses. They have those as well. But on the day, City were completely impervious. And they established that dominance on the pitch by the very virtue of how they played. And they did not have to worry about how Arsenal would play, because Arsenal did try to play their game. It's just that they were not good enough compared to City. And that is the thing. Arsenal may yet be the second best team in the league, and it's going to be a remarkable ending for them. But it might still not be good enough for the standard City has set. And that's the credit to the work City have been doing, not just over the past few seasons, over the past 15 years. So that's what this is testament to. That's what the calcification of the standard that City has set has increased so much over the past 5-6 years, that we can only look at it from afar at this point and just say, look, it's fantastic. The execution of the plan, it's been fantastic. And that's the standard that City have set. So they are going to do this year in, year out, whether Guardiola is there or not. And Arunava, I know, obviously will come back to, will be able to shed a lot more light on the operations behind the scenes. So I still think it's a lot of credit to Arsenal. Again, the season hasn't yet happened completely. There are a few matches to go. Like I said, I still think City have a few draws in them. But sadly, I also think Arsenal have a few more drop points in them. And look, nothing set in stone. So we cannot completely predict how it's going to pan out. But from what we have seen in front of us, this is City's title to lose now.
Yeah, Abhimanyu, one player that we've dearly missed during this entire run-in was William Saliba. He hasn't featured much after the World Cup, if at all. I don't remember. But yeah, he's somebody who's probably been one of the best players in the season. If, according to me, he is in the top 3-4 of the best Arsenal players this season. He's so important with the ball and without the ball. So do you think he would have made a difference at all coming into this important run of fixtures and before the City game as well?
Yes, definitely, because Saliba was absolutely key to the way we play. I mean, not just from a defensive point of view, but he was it was like from how we play out from the back, and having that control over games, that that allowed us to dominate teams in the first, say, 60-70% of the league. And then he got injured in that Europa League game where we lost to Sporting, and it's no surprise that the results have gone a little downhill after he got out. Because Holding,
Yeah,
while Holding can be a decent player, especially coming in to try and save a lead when we shift to a back three and all of that, that's fine. But he just doesn't. The drop in quality is significant.
yeah,
So I mean, I think he has been a big miss, and that is exactly what I uh, thought even at the start of the season, that yeah, we don't have the kind of squad to compete for the title, because if you're competing for the title, especially against this beast that Pep Guardiola has created at the Etihad, you cannot just rely on 11 or 12 or even 14, 15 players. We had, I think, good 15, 16 players contributing, but when we go to the 17th player, when we go to the 18th player,
yeah,
and that's when it gets difficult. We managed when Gabriel Jesus was out injured. I thought we did well to manage that with Nketiah coming in, and then Trossard fitted in very
sorry, yeah,
well. And I thought we'd drop more points during that period, but we didn't. So credit to us. We got some good. We did some business in January as well, but January can't be the time where you plug all your holes. So yeah, the Saliba injury coupled with Tomiyasu also being out, that
yeah,
really, I think, hurt us. And I'm not saying that if Saliba was there, then last night's result, I mean, sorry, the result against City, that would be any different. I'm not saying that.
yeah,
We probably, I'm even if with our best team, I think at the Etihad we would have lost. The
yeah,
City team on the day, they're just too good. But like the drop points against West Ham, the drop points against Southampton, those maybe we could have got a couple more points there. Also, the Liverpool game, I think Arnav said that we bottled it in the second half, but I actually don't look at it that way. I mean, we had a 2-0 lead early on, yes, but it's very difficult to get points out of Anfield. City fans
yeah.
would know that, United fans would know that, and but to go there, and the from the time they got that first goal, they just completely dominated. Yeah, we were lucky to come out with a point, but that I felt was a good result. But yeah, the two games after that, West Ham and Southampton, there maybe a fully fit squad would have helped. But yeah,
And
I mean
did it
that's
at all remind you of last season? Because we went into a similar fixture with Rob Holding at centre back, and it did not go that well. And I just had a bad feeling even this time. I completely agree with you. Even if we had Saliba, I don't think it would have made much of a difference. City on their day were incredible. I don't think they were playable. But yeah, did it remind you of last season somewhat?
oh yeah, yeah, definitely it did a little bit. Like I mean,
Yeah,
that was similar, and yeah, but I think that was definitely like the good thing. The only good thing is um, now we still have a longer way to go. Like last season,
yeah.
I think it was just the
2 games
the
left after
Tottenham
this
game.
first game. Yeah,
Yeah, it was just Newcastle and then another
yeah.
game I'm forgetting right now. But yeah, that was too close to the end of the season for it to for us to come back from that. But yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I guess centre back is definitely a position where we will need to get good quality backup.
Yeah. Yeah. Akio, just talking about the title race and City were probably walking away with it from now on. Do you feel like there is a possibility that the Champions League could hinder, um, you know, a clean sweep from now on and until the end of the season?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think a lot of City fans are now confident because we have games in hand and Arsenal has quite like dropped a lot of points, but definitely the Champions League will hinder the our progress because Uh, Surprisingly, Real Madrid fans don't seem to be, at least the ones I've interacted with, don't seem to be as confident as they were last season or every season. And honestly, I can't judge because I haven't had the time to watch the La Liga this season or Real Madrid.
Yeah.
But it seems like there's a certain doubt over Real Madrid fans this season. A lot of them are just congratulating me, saying congrats on the treble, congrats on the Champions League. So it's very funny. It's not something you see from Real Madrid fans. So uh, maybe they are not at their best at the moment, but it's still Real Madrid. Super clinical team. It's funny to actually now call City a super clinical team when they had so many big chances missed all these seasons, which has been our downfall. But um, yeah, definitely. And it's not just Real Madrid. It's not the magnitude of the opponent, but it's also the fact that there are uh, the fixture crunch is quite a lot. Like having Everton, and then I think Madrid, and then I think Chelsea, then Madrid, and then Brentford again, and sorry, yeah, Brentford at the end. And Brentford, a lot of people are forgetting. Like we might have hammered Liverpool, Arsenal, United at the Etihad, but Brentford came and beat us at the Etihad. Of course, the circumstances may have been different, but I think Brentford has had a pretty good season, and Chelsea haven't been that great, but who knows? It. I'm not sure if it's their last home game, but either ways, it's the penultimate game, and I'm sure they'd want to turn up. Brentford would want to send off their fans in a good way, and we have Champions League in the middle of that, so it's going to be hard, no doubt about it. I'm actually quite happy that Arsenal has dropped points. I'll be quite frank, I didn't expect it because I think the way they were, and to be completely honest with you guys, I'm a Mikel Arteta ultra. Like I'm a super huge fan of him. Um, I've been rooting for him a lot in the previous seasons, in all his time at Arsenal. Even when he joined Arsenal, a lot of Arsenal fans didn't know what to expect, so they would always ask City fans, "How is he? What's good about him?" And I would be selling him like very high, and then his start was not that great. So then people would come back to me and be like, "What are you saying? This is rubbish. Were you lying? Blah blah blah." But I knew he would come good because City fans know that he's done a lot of work on the inside of the club. You could see that the moment he left the club, there were a lot of players that actually put big goodbye messages to him, and these were crucial players like Raheem Sterling and quite a lot more. And the more you dig deep into it, you hear stories about him personally working with Raheem Sterling. Rodri was supposed to be a personal project of his, and a lot more. And you would see that there's some substance to all of this because if you see the moment Arteta left the club, Sterling went through a massive downfall. And before that, he was one of the top scorers in the league. He was our top scorer in all competitions. At one point in the 2018-19 season, for goals and assists, I think he was up there with Messi in the whole of Europe. So um, there was definitely a slight fall after Arteta left, but I'm a big fan of him. He's very well spoken. He's a great intellectual guy, and I thought they're going to walk away with it. Right from the way he dresses to the way he was coaching the players, everything seemed very pep-like, and I just thought, damn it, this guy's nailed it, and we've lost it. And right down to the attitude of the Arsenal players, the way they would come back in the games. Um, I can't remember what was that game that went
The
to
Bournemouth game.
97th.
Bournemouth.
Yeah, that went right. Yeah, that went right to the end. The problem is the moment you saw the extra time, at least me being a Arteta fan and seeing the way Arsenal were playing, I just knew that they were going to that I think it was Reece Nelson, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, it was Reece Nelson, right? Yeah, I knew that goal
Yeah.
was going to go through. I just knew it, and I had given up all hopes, quite frankly. I didn't expect this to happen, and I think halfway through the season, somewhere in game week 18, they were about 7 points clear. Right up to even 6, 7 weeks ago, they were about 5 points clear when City and Arsenal had both played the same amount of games. So I didn't really have hope. I thought they could come to the Etihad, get a draw if they kept winning, of course, and build a big lead, and that would be it. But I don't know. Maybe it's the young. Of course, it's one of the, if not the youngest, it's one of the youngest teams in the Premier League. And to be getting that kind of results from such a young team is amazing. But then it does come out in times like this when you face such an experienced, seasoned team. A lot of these City players have three Premier League medals sitting in their cabinet. So going up against that is very
Yeah.
difficult. But um, I don't know. Being a Mikel Arteta fan, it's disappointing. If it wasn't City, I'd be rooting for Arsenal hands down. But yeah, deep down inside, I'm obviously very happy that they dropped points, and I think they were in the driving seat. But now we are in the driving seat, and it's definitely not over by all means. Arsenal can drop points, but even we can drop points. So keep watching till the end. That's all I would say.
Um, Anshuman, obviously, a lot of Arsenal fans are dejected because of the situation. Arsenal are 2 points ahead of City, but City have two games in hand, and City look like they're in control of this. If Arsenal do finish second come the end of the season, is it still a successful season for the club?
I think the looking at different points of references is quite important at this point because let's say that we go fast forward to the end of the season and City are lifting another title. In that moment, I think feeling dejected will be quite normal because you need to keep in mind this the nature in which City have been able to come back and the way the outcomes have been where Arsenal have dropped points and that has allowed City to come back into the game and so things like that will feel quite dejecting. But regardless of whether Arsenal win, this is something that I've brought up, I think, in the last pod as well. And I basically said this regardless of whether they win anything or not, this season has been quite a fantastic turnaround for Arteta. Because lest we forget, at the end of last season, Arsenal still did not have a Champions League in their hand. And people were still thinking about whether giving Arteta all this time was really worth it because the results were not there. You can talk about him being a good man and a good manager and a good potential and everything, but up until at the end of last season, there wasn't anything to show for it. So questions were being asked of him up until this point, and very few people, including Rahul Sahab from our parish, he was the one saying that no, there is something special going on there. He's doing his work, the results will come, and it's a very rare stance to have because very few people could actually see that coming. So going into this season, Arsenal's target was to break into that top four, try to break into that top four once again, and at least make sure that this time they do that. At the start of the season, I think you and Avimanyu will be able to attest to this. If you were given a Champions League spot, you would take it, no questions asked. But it's
100%.
just that the nature in which, yeah, but the nature in which the season has turned out, a bit of frustration, a bit of abject feeling. It's very normal, very understandable. But when it's all said and done, when we are 15 days out of the season, and when we look back at it, I hope that Arsenal fans will be able to appreciate the season for what it was, because this
Yeah.
season in its microcosm has been vindication of everything that Arteta and Edu have been doing over the past two, three and a half seasons. Because they haven't been getting the credit for it because the narratives are so heavily reliant on the outcomes that even all the good work that they have been doing has been completely ignored up until now. So they're getting credit for that. They're getting credit for all the refurbishment that Arsenal have had to do in the back, in their hierarchy, in the changes that they have made in the squad over time. And it hasn't been easy for Arsenal because for Arteta because he has had to offload a lot of players that were deemed important or famous, right from the likes of Mesut Ozil to Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. So he has had to deal with all of that, and now you have a situation in which Arsenal are delivering results. So I think that getting a top four finish, which has to be the bare minimum for Arsenal at this point, I think that is something that will 100% be a success, at least from a neutral standpoint. I still hope that something happens and City completely capitulate and Arsenal go and win the league. That's at least my personal take. Whether it will happen or not is irrelevant. And for Arsenal, taking a top four spot is absolutely a success for this season. And they have once again they have a very strong foundation because at the end of this season, Arteta can turn back and say, "Look, I have delivered the results. Let's not go too harsh into what exact that we quote unquote bottled the league because you look at the finer details, the kind of average age Arsenal have, the kind of experience they have, and what exact the juggernaut of City that they are going up against. It's not invincible, but it's almost inevitable, especially when you give them this kind of a sniff at the very end of the season. This is where City come at their best, and I'm talking about just the Premier League. That if you give them a chance, they will take it and they will not hesitate and they will not ask any further questions. So it's that kind of a thing. Liverpool will attest you, Liverpool fans will tell you that sometimes you just have to go completely berserk to shake off City to such a degree that they have absolutely no chance to come back into a season. Which we saw with the 99-point season Liverpool have had, and what kind of a mad run they had to go on to make sure that City were absolutely nowhere in the discussion. So that needs to happen as well. So for Arsenal, this has been quite a decent season. A lot of positives to take from it, regardless of what happens from this point to the end of the season. And as we go into the next season, with Arsenal having secured a Champions League spot, I think a lot of positives will have been taken there, and uh, a lot of weightage will now be given to Arteta and his coaching credentials as well. Because saying a coach is has a good potential is one thing, and now having a coach who has delivered so much and have getting a Champions League is quite an important feat in especially in the Premier League when you have so many players vying for that top four spots. And I know this season Liverpool have been slightly down. Chelsea and Spurs at some point they will come back into the frame as well. So keeping that in mind, keeping how many players are vying for these four spots, it's quite important to keep this in mind that Arsenal have done a phenomenal job, and it's not a perfect one. Few projects are, but it has shown enough to the rest of the footballing ecosystem to give Arteta some credit, to give Arteta's credentials some a lot more weightage, and take him seriously a lot more next season onwards. So that is something to keep in
Right.
mind. That no matter what happens, Arsenal's performances have been phenomenal, and this season, for at the end of the day, for better or worse, is a success.
I think most Arsenal fans will agree with you, Anshuman, come the end of the season. And I think after everybody has reassessed and taken a breath and, just look at the season entirely with a fresh mind. Arunava, it's a different challenge moving into next season. Arsenal play the Champions League as well, and for this young side to, step into a tournament that they're not used to playing in. What sort of a challenge will that bring? And do you think they will be able to cope with the Champions League and the Premier League simultaneously?
I think they will certainly be in a position to cope because I think the club will look at reinforcements over the summer. It's going to be interesting if who will be able to get Declan Rice on their books. There are other players inside the Premier League or from other leagues. Clubs are looking to sign. That is one. I think a club which is not getting enough due credit, but they're third currently in the table are Newcastle United. I think that's the one to watch out for because Newcastle, unlike other clubs who've had foreign investors coming in, have sort of calmly, quietly built an interesting squad. Eddie Howe has done quite well for them. As Anshuman just mentioned, Liverpool and Chelsea will not have another that bad of a season, especially Chelsea. Let's see who comes in as the coach. Question is about Tottenham and there as well. Man United uh, will most probably get better next season as well, which will make Anshuman happy. But for Arsenal, I think they need to build on this. They need to, as Anshuman has said, you've said, I think there's a lot of positives to take from the season. If anyone had said, that you are going to be fighting towards the end of the season for the title, I think most Arsenal fans would have taken it. But again, I think if you look at the last 5-6 weeks, you will say, you know what, we had a chance really to dent City, and we just didn't get those sort of results that were needed. They couldn't grind out the results. Of course, those injuries have been an issue in the last few weeks as well. But there's something in there, and City, of course, has shown as Anshuman has said. I think that they are, in over the last years or decade, the team to beat in the Premier League. Even though a lot of people talk about the Premier League being more competitive than other leagues, but when it is about the championship and about the title, it is all about City at the end of the day, and as much as or as little as the others would like it, and that's those are factors, and it's now for City to lose. That's an interesting scenario. 2 weeks back, it was for they were the chasers. Now they're the ones who are being chased again. And they have it in them. The question is, will they put full focus on the Premier League? Will they focus now on the Champions League? They have a very, very tricky encounter against Real Madrid in the Champions League. Round of the competition.
Abhimanyu, I'll just come to you for the final
and Real
say.
Madrid are Real Madrid. So
Yeah,
that's gone to Champions League against Real Madrid. Will that be another sort of
yeah. Um, Abhimanyu, just quickly coming to you again for the final say as an Arsenal fan, and after everything that we've been through this season, the last couple of seasons, what's your takeaway from the season? What are you looking forward to come the 23-24 season?
Well, firstly, I'm looking forward to not having to go through Thursday night football anymore. That's where Spurs belong, and that's where they should be. We, I'm glad to be back playing on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. No, but on a more serious note, look, there has been steady progress under Arteta right from the start. He's had to do a lot of work, as Anshuman said. He's had to pretty much overhaul the entire squad. Like I think Granit Xhaka is the only member of the starting 11 left from when Arteta took over. So that that's a difficult job to do, and he's done it in about 3 4 years, 3.5 years, and so now yeah, we've had a season where Arteta himself said that we want like he wasn't expecting us to be competing for the title this year. Champions League football was the goal, but we did go a step beyond and push an incredible City team
Yeah,
through like the pretty much the last months of play. So it's been a great season, and which means we have a good squad. We have definitely a very good 11. So now it's just about adding reinforcements, making sure. Obviously, because we did play the Europa League this year, we do know that. All right, we have, and it's not like we played a complete second team in the Europa either. We did play quite a few of our first team players as well. So we do know that okay, the workload can more or less be managed. There aren't. It's not like we need to add like 10 players, but yeah, we have to get those 3 4 key players, and yeah, we do need to in certain positions in the 11 as well. Some upgrades would be good. As Arunava said, yeah, where Declan Rice ends up will define a lot of things. Um, so yeah, next year again a run for the title. If we do manage that, that will again be very good work. And I'm pretty sure if we do have a good season next year, we will be more experienced, and I think we will come closer next year for sure.
yeah. Right now City sit in control, but like Arunava mentioned, and when you also mentioned, Arsenal are chasing it. Arsenal are chasing a title, but we're not out of it yet. Let's see, come the end of the season where both sides will finish, and we're also looking forward to the coming season. Arsenal have have Champions League in mind, a lot of other things. This has been fun, guys. Thanks so much, Arunava, Abhimanyu, Akio, and Anshuman. Let's see what happens.